two of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, a cursed island in Canada and a revolution that should have been impossible. For centuries they were two separate stories. No one ever imagined that the answer to both was buried in the very same place. A cursed island, a bankrupt rebellion. One secret binds them. Tonight, the truth emerges from darkness, and history will never be the same. After years of sacrifice and speculation, the moment has arrived. The Oak Island team has finally breached the main vault. They are expecting Templar crosses or pirate gold. What they are about to find is far more significant. After centuries of searching, after countless theories and dead ends, the moment of truth arrives. The final barrier is breached, and the camera pushes forward, revealing the contents of what could only be described as the Oak Island Vault. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth, aging wood, and something else. The faint metallic tang of history itself. The initial sight is staggering, not for the expected glitter of a pirate's hoard, but for its sheer organized scale. It is stacked to the ceiling with hundreds of identical wooden barrels. This isn't a chaotic pile of loot, it's a meticulously arranged deposit. Each barrel is uniform, sealed, and placed with a logistical precision that speaks not of plunder, but of purpose. This was a shipment, a massive, carefully managed collection stored away from the world. The team's numismatist, Dr. Alistair Finch, approaches with a mixture of reverence and clinical focus. The hopes of generations rest on what he finds inside.
Let's get a look. The preservation is remarkable. Okay, let's see what we have. Spanish milled dollars. Pieces of 8. Standard currency for the era, but wait, this is all wrong. These coins, they're all dated between 1770 and 1775. Every single one. Look at the mint marks, the condition. They're almost uncirculated. This isn't an ancient treasure. This isn't Templar gold or Captain Kidd's bounty. This is something else entirely. Something much, much closer to the birth of a nation.
The treasure is wrong. The coins are from the wrong time period. The dates are a bombshell, shattering the long-held myths of Oak Island. A treasure dated to the eve of the American Revolution. Here, on an island in British-controlled Nova Scotia. It makes no sense. This is not the ancient hoard they were looking for. The discovery of a few old coins would be a victory. But this is an entire bank, a war chest. The sheer volume of coinage, all from this narrow 5-year window, points to a single, massive financial operation. The initial joy of discovery evaporates, replaced by a profound and electrifying confusion. The puzzle of Oak Island hasn't been solved. It has been replaced by a much larger, more significant historical enigma. If this isn't a pirate's treasure, then what is it? Who would have the means and the motive to transport and conceal a fortune of this magnitude, specifically from this time in this remote location? The haunting question hangs in the subterranean air. What is this place? In the center of the vault, they find a single, lead-lined, hermetically sealed box. With trembling hands, they open it. Inside, perfectly preserved, is a massive, leather-bound ledger. He turns to the final page, showing a list of signatories. The entire team is in a state of absolute jaw-dropping shock. This was not a treasure vault, it was a bank, the secret, offshore bank of the American Revolution. In the hushed confines of the war room, a moment hangs suspended in time. A world-renowned historian, summoned to validate the team's findings, stands utterly speechless. Before him, laid out with reverent care, are not just artifacts, but the keys to a secret that has haunted the periphery of American history for over 2 centuries. The air is thick with the weight of unspoken questions. After a long, charged silence, the historian finally finds his voice, his words trembling with the magnitude of the revelation.
This is the single greatest historical discovery in American history. Nothing else comes close. We've spent our entire careers chasing whispers, piecing together fragmented letters and coded journal entries. We theorize that a central, consolidated treasury must have existed to fund the revolution, but we never dared to believe it could be found intact. This isn't just treasure, it's the physical manifestation of our nation's birth certificate. This is the lost treasury, the legendary war chest of the American Revolution. For decades, we've known that the Continental Congress was perpetually bankrupt. The war effort should have collapsed. But it didn't. Why? Because of this. The secret funds from France and Spain, nations who saw an opportunity to weaken their British rival, were funneled to the revolution. But it wasn't a simple bank transfer. It was a clandestine operation of immense complexity and risk. A river of silver and gold flowing through a network built on absolute trust. And the bedrock of that trust was the Masonic network. These weren't just fraternal lodges, they were secure communication hubs, connecting patriots in the colonies with sympathizers and financiers in the royal courts of Europe. The sheer audacity is breathtaking. To secure this lifeline, they couldn't store it in Philadelphia or Boston, cities crawling with loyalists and British spies. They needed a remote offshore vault, so they hid it here, on British territory, right under their noses. It was the perfect deception, a place so obviously hostile that no one would ever think to look. They weaponized their enemy's own geography against them. And the contents, it's a numismatist's fantasy. Spanish milled dollars, French louis d'or, all dating to the years just before the Declaration of Independence. This isn't a pirate's hoard, accumulated over a lifetime of plunder. This is a consolidated, organized, and purposefully gathered treasury. The value of these coins today, just in terms of their raw, precious metal and numismatic worth, it would be in excess of $500 million. But its historical value? It's simply priceless.
The network was hidden in plain sight. Patriots, merchants, and Freemasons safeguarding a dream. They were doctors, lawyers, printers, and farmers, bound by an oath not to a king, but to an idea. This treasury wasn't just about funding an army with muskets and cannons. It was about financing the very concept of liberty, ensuring the ink on the Declaration of Independence was backed by the unshakable value of gold and silver. This discovery doesn't just add a new chapter to the story of the American Revolution. It forces us to reread the entire book from the very beginning. After centuries of searching, after countless theories and dashed hopes, the final secret of Oak Island is revealed. Here, deep beneath the earth, the island gives up its ghost. The air is thick with the scent of old wood, damp earth, and something else, the metallic tang of history itself. It was never a pirate's chest filled with plundered jewels, nor a Templar's hoard of ancient religious relics. The truth is something far more profound, far more integral to the world we know today. The evidence lies not in a single chest, but in a meticulously organized cache. Barrels, sealed with pitch and lead, sit alongside a leather-bound ledger. This wasn't a haphazard burial, it was a deposit, a bank. The contents of these barrels and the careful accounting within this book tell a story that will rewrite the very origins of a nation.
What we're seeing is astonishing. These aren't random coins from a dozen different pirate raids. We have Spanish milled dollars, French louis d'or, and the dates are tightly clustered, primarily between 1770 and 1775. This isn't a hoard accumulated over a lifetime. This is a specific, consolidated fund, gathered for a singular purpose right before the outbreak of war. The consistency points to a state-level actor, not a rogue captain.
This discovery confirms what historians have long suspected but could never prove. Covert aid from France and Spain was crucial, but how did they get that money to the colonies without alerting the British? They used networks of trusted merchants and secret societies, like the Freemasons, to move vast sums. An offshore, secure repository like this, right under the nose of the British, but ingeniously protected, would have been the perfect solution. It was a logistical and strategic masterpiece.
This was the revolutionary war chest that gave birth to a nation. The complex traps, the flood tunnels, the so-called curse, They weren't the work of ancient Templars. They were the brilliant, desperate measures of the Founding Fathers, men like Franklin, Hancock, and Washington using their knowledge of engineering, finance, and Masonic secrecy to protect their dream of freedom. This vault was their ultimate insurance policy. The ledger itself is a declaration. It details deposits from European allies and withdrawals for arms, for supplies, for the salaries of the Continental Army. It is the secret balance sheet of a revolution. The treasure here wasn't just gold and silver. It was the fuel for the fire of independence. It was the tangible means to turn ideals into reality. The ultimate treasure, buried deep within Oak Island, was never just wealth. It was liberty. Please subscribe to our channel, History Documentary Hub, for more insightful videos and intriguing content.